talk about. I know we were talking about something that dropped, well, really like 3-ish hours ago. Meta's Hypernova smart glasses.
So
It's got to
yeah,
be
these are
cool, right?
the next. This is the premium version of the Meta Ray Bans, but with a screen is the key differentiating element here. So the feature will be in the bottom right of the lens when you're looking through it. So kind of like a heads-up display for your smart glasses. Meta's $299 Ray Bans are honestly kind of a big success. They are very popular, and I think people see the value in the fact that they have cameras built in. They're kind of like, obviously, sunglasses, they are, and also earbuds. So like you don't need AirPods with them, and they've got 4K cameras built in. So it's kind of cool. Like you can create content with them hands free. You can ask Meta AI, questions. And now on this next generation, which is rumored to come as early as this year, so maybe December this year, late this year, we'll have up to $1,400. Now they could be 1,000. The rumored source doesn't want to, reveal themselves because this is unannounced. But yeah, that's cool news. This is exciting. Would you buy one?
Well, so here's the deal, right? So rumored pricing, more or less is going to be over $1,000. Could sell for as high as $1,300 to $1,400, and it comes with a wristband, kind of neural controller of sorts. Supposedly the code name is Ceres. So you're wearing kind of a wristband and these really expensive glasses. I guess I'm curious, number one, right? When you have two pieces of technology, what's the functionality of, you forget your wristband at home, like, can you control your smart glasses? Or, what's, kind of number one, kind of what's the deal with that? Number two, who is this for? I mean, for a pair of smart glasses that cost, more or less as much as a phone, these will have to be just as useful, if not more than a phone. So I think the price point and just kind of the combination of it's still a very early adopter product. We kind of saw this with the Vision Pro. But I don't know like how well that that sold. I mean, I know we were, um I haven't, I honestly have not seen one of them in the wild yet. I don't know if I just don't have tech savvy friends or whatnot.
What are you talking about? The glasses, the Meta Ray Bans, or are you talking about the
Well,
Meta
the
Quest?
Vision Pro, the Vision Pro.
Oh, the Vision Pro. Yeah. Yeah, the Vision Pro. Well, I think that's expensive. I mean, most people don't want to pay $3,500 for something like that. That's so, first generation.
Well, then, I mean, to be fair, this is half the price, and maybe it's is it half as cool? It's kind of like it's one of those things where
The screen is not the whole thing. It's just a small part of the right lens for notifications and stuff, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Which is
I mean,
cool.
it is cool. I guess for me, I'm just also curious as to who is it for, number one, and then number two, like what's the functionality, um of just the smart glasses. So say I forget my wristband, And I just, I throw on my glasses, I leave the house, like, I left my neural wristband at home. It's just sort of like, which again too, it's like, well, if you wear an Apple Watch or any number of other wristband um, equivalents, um, so do you wear two of them? That
Yeah,
part of
it's
it is
weird.
kind of strange to me. Where is the what's the functionality and how does it work without this wristband?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
because like, say you forget it, like, would you remember both things all the time?
Yeah, well, it's a lot. Yeah, you're right. It's a lot for people, if you're already wearing a watch or a ring or, a Whoop, or there's a lot of trackers and bands. And I think asking someone to put a band on in addition to their glasses, it's like, okay, now you've got the glasses, but yeah, no, it's weird. So I don't really know. Like, to me, I think they're so I think by the end of 2027, I believe the article mentioned that they're going to come out with another version that has a screen in both sides of the glasses. So don't know if that makes it more expensive or that'll just be the second generation. Obviously, they're going for in the future a screen in transparent glass. You know, that way when you're like your glasses, when you're wearing them, you could be looking at a
Yeah.
screen right now and nobody would know. This technology is coming. Like, you could be immersed in
Well,
your
it's
AR,
coming,
VR.
but do people want it? You know,
Yeah. And I mean,
I
I
don't know.
guess technically speaking, it could it even be transparent? I don't know. This is very technical, but like if there was a screen in your glasses right now, like how would we not see the screen too? But you can see the screen. It's like one-sided, like anyway, it's
No,
very,
yeah. I
very
mean, it'd be like a one-way mirror of sorts, right? I mean, like, there's ways. I mean, I guess like more or less. I mean, there's already a way to produce a pane of glass that's see through in one direction. I'm sure even a standard LCD screen without the the backlight or the opaque kind of uh, panel. That's sort of something where you can kind of create a semi-transparent. If you take apart an old TV, for example, and you remove the back panel, it is something that's more or less like there's many layers to it. I know at least in display technology, huge advancements. I think the biggest thing will always kind of boils down to is power usage.
that's
Um,
true.
and the battery density and the battery size, because that's always, I mean, it's because it's a weight thing and it's also a size thing. And that's the Achilles heel for well, really every portable, hyper portable device, it's always been the battery. um
Mhm.
so
Yeah, no, it'll be fascinating to see. Yeah, battery life on these things with the screen, and also, yeah, outside. Like, how will you be able to see the screen in bright sunlight? And I mean, I'm assuming it's also dimming. It's crazy. I think the transition lenses technology is pretty cool, but like, okay, now with the transition lens, can I also, you know, yeah, with taking pictures, I mean, with the 4K camera, it connecting to your phone with Bluetooth, it's got a lot going on. That's for sure. Um, and then yeah, I feel like if they make it $1,400, that's going to turn so many more people away. And Meta they're really an advertising company. They're really an advertising company. And when you realize that, I think you start to think, well, they want these in as many hands as possible. So why not make it $9.99? And no, that's not $10. That's $1,000. You know, so
Yeah, yeah.
not $100 either. So it's when we say 999. So you know, or maybe it will be almost 1,500. I don't know. They did that with the Meta Quest Pro, and wow, these are sleek. These are black. This is slim. This is, you know, wow, super high res. This is, you know, look at the design, and then wow, you know, 1,500 turns a lot of people away, and then they drop the price to 1,000. So I think they see more traction at that, and then obviously they're a premium thing, so you know, it kind of makes you wonder, like, are users, like, if you had them, would I be able to see the screen right now if you had a notification? Like, are other people going to see it light up? Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you don't want, oh, wow, you just got a notification saying I could tell because I was looking at your eyes and I can see the little screen in the bottom right of your glasses, you know, and then that doesn't sound good, right? But then also you want it to
I can
alert
tell you're
people
not
when
paying
you're
attention to me,
people.
you know.
If you're,
You're not looking at
you
me.
know, but if people are looking at you, you know, and then what if you're filming people with your glasses, right? You've got to have that LED built on. So anyway, yeah, the technology is getting very advanced very quickly. So anyway, well, moving on, I think we should talk about our next story, which has been in the news a lot this week. Very, very surprising when we talk about 23andMe's data leak. So, you know, for the 15 million people that have done these tests, it's recommended to delete your data, request your data to be deleted as soon as possible, because your data is not for sale. And through this bankruptcy process, there will be another buyer, and it's not guaranteed for your data to have the same privacy standards that you were promised when you did your test. So you never know. You would hope that would be a requirement, you know, of the, you know, whoever acquires them, but you don't really know what they're up to, right?
Yeah,
You don't
your
really
data
know.
is going to be auctioned off. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's just sort of like, you know, your
So,
DNA data is going to be sold to the highest bidder.
but also a lot of people
You
are
know,
deleting their data. I think a lot of people are also deleting their data, and I would say just
well, I mean,
total, but
says who? You know, it's just like the company who stored it in the first place, right? You know, do they have a
well, they are
right to do
required
that?
to delete data. Well, they're required to delete your data if you submit a request, and I'm sure that's automated. So it's not like you request your data to be deleted, and they're not actually going to delete the data. I'm pretty sure they are going to delete the
Well, I
data.
mean,
But
not to play devil's advocate, but just sort of like, who's enforcing it? I mean, like literally, you know,
yeah, well,
who's supposed to go in there and verify that? Yeah, they delete your data.
there's no way to do that due diligence.
Yeah, so it's like it's as you know, it's kind of like trust me, you know, not really, you know. So and again, you know, working in cybersecurity, it's like you have trust issues. You know, it's just sort of there's no trust but verify is kind of like that. You know, so it's like I trust that 23andMe deleted me, but did they?
Yeah, or did they want more
Maybe.
data to sell? I know. Well,
I mean, the people who
yeah,
want the people who want their data deleted, that's the valuable data. So we're going to keep that extra close to us, you know. It's extra special.
I would hope they don't do that, but you never know. You never know. It's also worth thinking, you know, I like to consider 23andMe customers are probably paying attention to the news, hopefully. So, yeah, that being said, maybe a lot of people are deleting their data, and maybe it is, you know, becoming a big thing because it has been in the news a lot lately. And yeah, deleting your data has become a bigger topic of discussion. And you know, 23andMe customers, you know, it is kind of cutting edge in a sense if you're a customer. I'm not trying to say everybody that didn't do it, you know, is bad or something. I'm just saying if you are a customer, you're probably on the forefront of technology and hopefully staying educated about what the company's doing. And hopefully you're following the news and you know how to delete your data. So that's for sure. But yeah, no, fascinating and really sad to see what's going on here. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, what's interesting is, so at least for well, I guess, so perhaps what you're talking about, the Genomic Data Protection Act. So it's a bill that's been introduced. So this is not, this isn't, it's very far from being implemented in law or whatnot, but essentially is going to give consumers the right to delete their data. Right now, this is, I think, more or less pretty much a state issue, at least in the United States. And you don't really have sort of a cohesive right or any sort of data protection under law. So this would kind of at least unify the genomic. All your other data can still be bought and sold, but essentially, it seems to have been introduced in response to 23andMe kind of going bankrupt and not, kind of having an escape plan for all that stuff.
Yes. Well, and this Genomic Data Protection Act would also require companies to alert users if another entity is going to be acquiring the data that, or, with detailed information about their new owner. So that way they can exercise their rights. Maybe if they'd like to delete their data, they can do so. So requiring companies to delete their data and also de-identify. Don't forget that's very important because, if you want to contribute your data for medical and scientific research, that's great, consistent with, HIPAA guidelines and stuff like that. But yeah, people want to know what happens to their data. So, but they also, I think, if there was more clarity on this at a national level, it would be a lot better. I think people, given this 23andMe, which also, I don't follow this super closely, but and again, not saying anything bad, but why did this not happen to Ancestry? And could it happen to Ancestry? Right? Like, okay, 23andMe, this is what's happening, but like, could this happen as well to Ancestry? Like, how is Ancestry surviving? Like, if 23andMe is not. So I think it begs the question, like, your genomic data is potentially going to be bought and sold a lot in the future because now someone's going to acquire 23andMe because 23andMe didn't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's, I think the other kind of fundamental question to ask is like, well, what, I'm honestly not too familiar with what data is collected in terms of, well, they sequence your genome, right? And kind of what.
Well, they don't actually. 23andMe didn't.
So they only did part. Again, it just shows how unfamiliar I am with the whole, like what data exactly is collected and how is that useful. I mean, it's a shame because I think a lot of people, because I think it the whole premise was a tad deceptive because it's like, hey, like I just want to figure out some cool things about me and I don't particularly care about the implications of it. And that was kind of taken advantage of or kind of twisted in a way. So it's something where it's like, well, we just have to figure out, my cat is scratching.
Aww.
It's really squeaking.
I mean, I think, it's not really clear.
But I think that's just something we'll just have to. I mean, we will have to keep a lookout for, because it's one of those things where it's like we don't know who's going to buy it. I mean, honestly, it's a little bit scary, because it's like in a bankruptcy option, there really is no restriction on. I mean, generally, it's just sort of like, well, who pays the most money? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, could be anybody.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, no, it's
it's not exactly the well, not the usual suspects, but sort of not even maybe.
well, also drug companies, don't forget, really probably want your data to develop drugs. But that doesn't mean, I mean, but then also they should compensate you. Like, why? Like, that's what I don't understand. Why is the end user who provides the data not compensated in some way for their data that's helping design drugs or develop health reports? Like, it's crazy. It's like, your data is valuable and people know that, but why can people not, or why can companies not like reward or use data as an incentive or something? I don't know. It's weird. But anyway,
Well, and then that's the big question mark. And honestly, like, it makes me hesitant too to, like, kind of, not to throw crypto under the bus, right? But it's like, if the most high profile product in a certain industry undergoes this transformation of, well, hey, yeah, 23andMe, like, oh yeah, they went bankrupt, and they, had to sell all their data to, I don't know, some drug company. It's like, wow, okay, like, I will be skeptical of this product essentially, from now on, because it's a very high profile, high optics, high octane case of the trailblazer of the industry, basically just kind of like went down in flames. So naturally, it's like, that just gives people, and it just makes it a lot harder for future entrance into the
oh yeah. Well,
but something to think about.
well, yeah. Hopefully, there's more clarity with this law. We'll see when it passes. Well, yeah. We should move on and continue talking about Zuck with his battle with EU
Wow,
laws. Of course, EU always cracks down. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, we could call it a crackdown, but also they're kind of targeting Meta, potentially unfairly. And Zuck wants Trump to help out with this.
Well, yeah. So again, there's a lot of, essentially a lot of thoughts behind this. Essentially, the European Union passed a new law, the Digital Markets Act. So it's it's essentially a new change where, basically, Facebook's in violation because, there's not an option for users to essentially provide less data targeting, but something that's still free to use but provides less data. So essentially, Meta kind of provided the option of saying, well, you can pay a monthly subscription, to get an ad-free version of Facebook and Instagram, or you can have a free version that uses less of their personal data but is otherwise the equivalent to the personalized ads-based service, by not allowing them to, quote, exercise the right to freely consent to the combination of their personal data. So it's kind of an interesting, I don't know what it's attempting to accomplish, and honestly, I don't. It's specifically Article 5/2 of the DMA. But essentially Facebook's not providing a free to use platform that allows for less user data to be, you know, collected, essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't, you know, is it unfair? You know, maybe, maybe not. Um, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, like, you know, I guess the big thing is, you know, personalized ads are more valuable, right, to the advertiser. They're willing to pay more for personalized ads. And so that's kind of why, well, if you're using the service for free, you know, we need to target you with personalized ads because that's how we generate, you know, a lot of revenue. If they're non-personalized, it's slightly less, and if there's no ads, then it costs, you know, you have no money, you know, generated from the user. So
it makes sense for them to charge, yeah, something. Yeah.
So, you know, and it essentially is sort of, the question is, well, is Facebook entitled to a certain amount of profit for providing a service? You know, and essentially it's, you know, and that's kind of a personal question for you. Um, you know, it's just sort of, you know, and, you know, do they have an obligation for any amount of money from a consumer? No, but then they also have the obligation to not provide the product that the consumer may, despite the cost, still want, right? So that's kind of what's, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what's going on. You know, is DMA the appropriate solution? Um, who knows? Now, it's kind of strange because it's, again, it's tough to say. Like, does Meta deserve to make, you know, money off of a
Well,
platform? I mean,
yeah, no. I mean, they definitely do. They definitely do. And I think it's just they don't want to do the ad free in the US. I don't know if you know this. They want to do the Meta verified program and make you pay. They don't want to make it, you know, they don't. They don't want to make it ad free because they'll make more off of you from advertisers that they can keep charging more and more for personalized ads, right?
well, yeah, I mean, and that's, I guess that's kind of the crux of this fine. So Facebook was found to be violating, you know, the specific provision, um, and, you know,
Yeah.
that's all she wrote, really. But give it a look see, the DMA, and, you know, we'll see if Zuck can get himself bailed out of this one. Um,
It'll be interesting for sure. And yeah, I mean, I personally would pay for an ad-free experience, but also I'm kind of off Instagram these days. I've unfollowed people just so that I don't, just honestly for personal addiction reasons. So for me, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, honestly, for me, it was kind of the ads. I would buy a lot of stuff on there over the years. And I mean, it worked. They targeted me for exactly what I want. So yeah. Woo! But we will, yeah, give it a look for sure and stay informed. And yeah, if you're a 23andMe user, go into your account sooner than later, request your data to be deleted. Probably a good idea. And yeah, we're here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Every Tuesday.
every Tuesday, yeah, we'll be talking more tech soon. Join us next Tuesday, 4/8, for more tech news very soon. We'll be here
Awesome.
next week.